Hello everyone, and welcome to Save the Rhino's film club. My name is David. I'm the events manager here at Save the Rhino, and here we are for our fifth virtual event and our second film club. These virtual events are obviously our response to the COVID-19 epidemic. We can't have physical events, and we miss you all. So we'll do these for the foreseeable future, and we hope that you enjoy them. We're missing you, and we really like to see you again. So we're also in the third month of our Rhino COVID-19 crisis appeal, and in July we're supporting the RPUs, the Ranger Patrol Unit in Indonesia. So if you've been following that in the lead up to World Ranger Day at the end of the month, that's great. But tonight we are in South Africa. I have the pleasure, and we have Save the Rhino have the pleasure of bringing you Sides of a Horn and the QA with Toby Wosskow, the writer and director of this film. From my point of view, this is a beautiful piece of independent cinema. It's a drama. It's the story of two brothers-in-law, Dumi and Selo, and their experiences on both sides of the rhino poaching crisis. It started life as a Kickstarter, and along the way it was picked up by Virgin and Richard Branson. It played at 50 major film festivals, won 12 awards, and qualified for the Oscars. So tonight, like I said, we've got Toby. So let me introduce Toby. We've got a bit of a technical problem there, sorry. Oh dear. Well, Toby, your voice is here, but the face is not. Sorry about that, everybody. We'll try to fix that in between times. Toby, good morning from LA. How are you? And,
hi, David.
Tell us, how did the film come about? You took a walking safari in South Africa.
Yes. First of all, thank you for having me, and thank you for everyone who's come on and is spending their Thursday, depending on where you are in the world, maybe your Friday, with us. There's obviously a lot going on in the world at the moment, and while there's major issues that need our focus, this is a passion issue of mine, and I appreciate everyone spending some time watching the movie and talking about it. But it was 2017. I was in South Africa just being a tourist, going on safari, and we met a anti-poaching ranger who took us on a walking safari, where we were able to get up close with a white rhino, out in a beautiful savanna. One of the most striking images I've ever seen, and I was just moved by being here in this moment that could have been taking place 50 million years ago, or it could be taking place today or tomorrow. So, and then of course the anti-poaching ranger started telling us about what was happening and the plight of the rhino and this poaching crisis, and even a war that's happening on the ground between the rangers and the poachers and the international crime syndicates, and the demand primarily in Asia, and this multi-billion-dollar trade, and then we went into a community living next to
to those people who are watching tonight, what would you tell them to have in their mind over the next 20 minutes when we play them the film?
I would just say that everything in this film came from a level of truth. We interviewed hundreds of people on the ground on all sides of this crisis, and what the film is essentially a summary in 17 minutes of a nuanced summary of the complexity of this crisis, and it doesn't try to make you feel one way or another. It doesn't paint anyone as the protagonist or the antagonist. I really just wanted to present people with the facts and the truth, and so I would just keep an open mind, and I'd love to hear how people feel about it once they've seen the film.
Okay, well, thank you for that, everybody. Without further ado, we will show you Sides of the Horn. At the end, there will have a few minutes to compose your thoughts, think up some questions, or if you have some questions along the way, please do drop those into the chat. And again, apologies for some of the technical difficulties. The film will play, and you'll see and hear Toby at the other side of the film. So enjoy, and see you again at 7:35.
Tower. Tango, you can get eyes on the gate. Tango, I'm section 5. I'll have eyes shortly. Can you make sure the electricity is still running for that tank? Yes, sir, on it.
Thanks, brother.
Cheers to me. Go well, Brit.
Ba. Khona unakho ukungasiza ngey'nhlungu nogwaye uthuba.
Hawu. Tumi, ke lengwile. Ne ke re lefatshe le go jela. Uyohlala isikhathi.
Hey, sobona. Ngiyabona.
Ngane. Usabuya la. Ufisa ukubhoda wena ne. Sibheke yezo ntwana. No white friends of yours are here to protect you now.
Okhalwe, huh? Osibheke nje. Uyintombi enamandla. Mazo-ke ntombi yami.
Sekungathi ukunciphisa kwakho ukudla, ukuqinisa kwakho amandla.
Dume. Jabulela ubona mfowethu.
Unjani yini unana wami? Umalume ukulethele isipho. Yazi yini le? Indlovu. Ya. Igama layo ngu-Isilo. Siqambe igama lomngani wami. Nomama nobaba abamthanda kakhulu njengawe. Ndlovu yakho. Okay. Mwa. Unjani siswa? Lindelo. Malindi. Ngikulethele lokho. Kuzokusiza uzizwe ungcono.
Ngiyabonga. Siyakhumbula Toby.
Fourteen hours ngelanga ngikapane kuni. Sandla sami sicwile igazi.
Umkholo wami uyangena ngeviki elizayo. Mhlawumbe uzokwanela ukuthi ngingenise esibhedlela.
Asinalo iviki. Simo sakhe sibheda usuku nosuku.
Uqinile. Kufanele na uqine naye. Kholwa mfethu.
Nkulunkulu baba. Yabonga ukuba nathi kuze kube manje. Cela ugcine umndeni wami. Ugcine unkosikazi wami. Ngipha amandla, ngiphilise. Ube naye kulesikhathini esinzima. Ube nami manje mangiphuma. Egameni likaJesu. Amen.
Ubani?
Usil.
Denke ukuthi ngisilayo. Ugayithuba besele impimpi esibali sakho kuyatheleka la.
Nje.
Ela phansi man.
Sekuyakena ukuthi ngilinde isikhathi esingakanani kule airport ukuthi lapho eJohn ufike. Kukhanya inyanga igcwele. Ngikhawathile wena.
Mari bengakeni ukuthi lo muntu uzwakala. Ngiyafana kazi next. So singabangena.
Ngiyangisavana. For sure thisana nalamangamla njengalasa sibali sakho ngisomgodoyi.
Then itingene ngibani ke fandatsha mpasi.
Kodwa ukuthi ubani. Ngeke uzundlule ngisho nefence yokuqala sana.
Ngiyakwazi ukusingela. Ngikapane nkuni everyday ubetshana lula.
Uzovaya uyi-1 phambi kwentathakusa ungilethele iphondo lami ngizogaya ikhaya lakho ungakhathazeki ngosibalo wakho singimfaka esiporweni lo.
Thula mntanami. Ngeke baphinde bakwazi ukusilimaza. Thula. Kulungile mntanami. Umama nomama sebekhona.
Kunjani siswami? Akalimalanga.
Cha ulungile.
Umshana wami yena ukuphi?
Sirathi. Yindaba kwenzakalani?
Baphinde bashaya uthandi. Bacela ukuthi bangahlukumeza lo mndeni lona. Mhlawumbe bephinde bengena lapha baphinde bazobabulala.
Bese bakulahlele ejele.
Kufanele ngibavike.
Ngeke kuphela.
Kuzophela uma besejele noma sebefile.
Munye umuntu othatha isikhala sabo.
Yini point yakho Silo?
Point yami ukuthi ayikho ipoint. Sister yakhe yagula. Mfazi wakho sengozini. Nomntana manje. Osoze baphephe lokhu ubhizi ufikela nobhejani begwili.
Awucabanga ukuthi ngiyawukhathalela umndeni wami? Akusibona ubhejane beyigwili. Obhejane bethu. Yini manje sengathi isiduphuke njengabo bonke labantu?
Mhlamba akunalo education yakho yamangama. Kodwa ngiyazi ukuthi impilo zabantu sibalekile ukudlula impilo zezilwane.
Awu.
Labantu bazama ukusiphilisa enoni yababulala.
Cabanga ngiyathanda ukuhloma ikhali. Melani nabafowethu. Labantu batshontshe kumhlaba wethu Silo ukunothisa igeleke ezile phesheya. Ngiyaxolisa sithando sami.
Ayikho into ekumele uyixolisele.
Cha. Angisazi manje.
Mina ngiyazi. Eminyakeni ezayo uma indodana yethu isihlele eklasini lami. Ngifuna ukufundisa ngendoda eyayinesibindi. Indoda elwela okulungile, ingalwelela namhlanje. Owayengazilweli yena. Elwela ikusasa labo bonke abantwana bakhe.
Simon for Dumi. Dumi, coming for Simon. Dumi, do you copy?
Yes, copy.
We've got a breach. Fence security found a hole in the perimeter. I can't get hold of Rayon or anybody. It's your sector. Can you head in now? We'll be there as fast as we can.
Copy.
en route, pal. Stay safe. No chances.
Official. He's watching the rhino, taking aim. Where are you?
30 minutes out.
He'll be gone by then.
Can you identify him?
I know the weapon.
You know the rules of engagement. Are you in direct danger?
Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to Save the Rhino's Film Club. I really hope that you enjoyed the playing of Sides of the Horn. Let me start off by saying sorry for the technical problems we had there at the start. I know we had a dropout of audio and a dropout of film, but thank you for your patience. And the main thing is that the film played, and we will cover everything that you may have missed. So let's bring back Toby, and we'll get stuck into some of the questions. Hello again, Toby.
Hey, David.
Yeah. So you watched the film yourself. You were saying before that it's been a while since you've seen it. So a fresh set of ideas.
Last time I saw it was actually in Uganda about 8 months ago. We watched it with an audience. So yeah, it was nice to see it again and refresh, and I'm excited to chat about it.
Wonderful. So let's start by going back over what you've already told me, but not to everyone else because of the technical problems. So can you remind us how the film started? It was, you talked about your first big trip to South Africa, your walking safari, meeting the communities, and then deciding to take some action to help the crisis.
So I 2017 was on vacation, just being a tourist, went on safari in the Kruger in South Africa, and we were on a walking safari and with an anti-poaching ranger, and we were able to see a white rhino right there in front of us, and on a beautiful savanna, one of the most striking images I've ever seen, and something that stuck with me that the ranger was saying is, this situation, this image could be taking place 50 million years ago, or it could be taking place today. Other than the fact that of the clothes that we were wearing, this species and this land has been around for that long. And then, so when he started telling us from his perspective what was going on the ground in South Africa with the plight of the rhino, who are nearing extinction, it was just that much more devastating and impactful. And the species that had been around for so long that looked like a dinosaur on the verge of extinction because of us. And so then we were able to go into a community that was on the border of a park that was getting hit pretty badly by rhino poachers, and I was able to speak with some elders in the community who told us, a ranger, someone in this community could become a ranger, or they could become a poacher, and same level of poverty, same community, and sometimes even the same family. Two people can go opposite ways. And so, as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, that's such a complex dynamic amidst such a, massive global issue. And as I came back home to the States and started doing more research and just became kind of consumed by what I'd heard on the ground firsthand, I started to see a lot of articles, information about the multi-billion-dollar global wildlife trade, but I didn't really see much from the perspective of the people who are on the front lines, the people who are in the communities living next to the park. And so I decided that I wanted to tell their story and tell it from that perspective, and to not paint the poachers as the bad guys and the rangers as the good guys, but to actually just look at these people as human beings and try to understand the motivations of why somebody would become a poacher and why somebody would become a ranger, and how two people can go opposite ways in this war. and here we are.
Sure. So that leads very nicely on to our first question from Rizkan in the UAE. And he's asking, why did you decide to tell the story this way? As a drama and as a diegetic piece?
So, there's been a lot of documentaries that have spoken about these issues, have explored these issues. Virunga, the Ivory Game, but I hadn't yet seen a narrative scripted film. And I think documentaries serve a purpose, and narrative scripted dramatic films serve another purpose. Documentaries tend to make you think more intellectually, and they present the facts, and it's a more educational, intellectual experience, whereas what a narrative film can do is put you in the shoes of these characters, make you feel how they're feeling, and take you on a journey with them. And it's more of a feeling experience as opposed to a intellectual, heady experience. And also I just wanted to introduce those people who have seen those documentaries are people who watch documentaries. They're people who enjoy getting intellectual and learning about issues. I wanted to introduce a whole nother audience who aren't necessarily the documentary watchers to these issues that may not have been privy to them before.
Sure. And another question from Julia Elizabeth Boyd in the UK, and you hinted on this just now. Is the film shown in communities in the countries where rhino poaching occurred? Can you tell us about Uganda, for example, going to Ziwa and that experience?
So we have shown the film all over the world. We translated it into 12 different languages. We've shown it throughout Asia with Wild Aid. We've shown it all over Europe, and most importantly for me was getting it grassroots on the ground in communities where there might not necessarily be access to the internet, to where you can go on YouTube and watch the film, even if it is available in your language. So one incredible experience that really was just so rewarding. That's really where all of this work over 2 years paid off. We received a grant from it's called the Mandela Washington Grant, where we partnered with a guy named Shaban Senyange in Uganda, and we were able to bring the film to Uganda for about 8-9 days, and we showed it in the cities, but then we were also able to go out to some communities, people living next to parks, and have conversations about the film. And Uganda itself is such a interesting place to bring the film, because they did have a rhino population. It went extinct because of poaching, and now the rhino population is being reintroduced. As you mentioned, David, there's a rhino sanctuary where rhinos have been relocated there, and now they're starting to grow in population, and they're on the brink of hitting their target of having too many rhinos to actually keep within the sanctuary. And so now they're going to have to start soon in the coming years. They're going to start reintroducing those rhinos to the wild, take them out of this protected sanctuary and put them in the wild. And so it was interesting to have these conversations in communities where they haven't seen rhinos in a long time, and they know that these rhinos are going to be reintroduced. And it was really uplifting to hear, some of these people in this community saying, we want to protect the rhino. We know how valuable they are to our tourism, to to us as a community living next to these parks, we met a guy who, an elder who said he used to be a poacher, and now he vows to protect the rhino instead of poaching it if it is reintroduced. And so it's just been an incredible experience getting to bring it kind of back home to the African continent and see how people react.
Sure. And touching again about a little on what was missed, I mentioned at the top that this originally started as a Kickstarter. It was very successful, and along the way you bumped into the people at Virgin and Richard Branson, and that helped bring the film to the level that it did. We have a question from Twitch. Do you have future plans for future work, and will it follow the same sort of format, and will it have the same sort of patronage?
Just touching on the first point, this film would not have reached the audience that it did without Virgin and Sir Richard Branson's support and their platform. They jumped on the film as we sent it to them, I think the day after we'd finished a cut of the film, and received a personal email from Richard Branson giving his full support and coming on board as an executive producer. And since that day, they've really taken it to the levels that it has gone. And in terms of addition or future projects in this space, currently working on a PSA with the Humane Society International and Vietnam Airlines in Vietnam, which we're doing surveys before. It's a 60-second commercial PSA aimed at reducing rhino horn demand in Vietnam, which is primary consumer. And we're doing surveys before the commercial comes out and surveys after the commercial comes out. It's about a year-long project, and the goal is to reduce the demand for rhino horn in Vietnam by 15% within that year, all through a 60-second commercial that will play on all Vietnam Airlines flights and in the lounges, and I believe also on TV and throughout Vietnam. So very excited about that. And again, hopefully it will have real tangible impact that we can even track. And then I'm also working on one other project that I can't talk about yet, but also is within the world of wildlife trafficking and rhinos specifically.
Cool. We have another question from Katya Goldberg in the United States, and it's a question about how do you keep your morale high working in this world and even shooting this drama.
It's a great question. There's definitely ups and downs like anything, but for me, it's actually easier to be motivated and wake up every day when there's a purpose behind what I'm doing. And I feel like that for this film specifically, that was the case with everybody who worked on the film, from pre-production to production on set in South Africa and all the way through post-production, because with a short film that's in a foreign language, people didn't get paid a ton. This is not about making money, and so everybody really came onto this knowing that this was for a greater cause, that it was we were all doing this with a passion. Everybody who worked on the film cares about this issue, and so every day we would come at it 100%, knowing that there was a purpose behind this. And I love watching things and making things that are more about escapism and that's a whole side of film that's important, especially during times like this. But usually where I come into my approach to film is about issues that matter and coming at them through a human lens that no other format really can. And so I don't think it's hard to keep a high morale when you know that you're doing something with a greater purpose.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, you know, we hear a lot of bad press, a lot of sort of disaster levels, but in fact, there's a lot of conservation, you know, optimism out there. There's a lot of really good work going on there. One question that we've had relates back to community conservation, and when we spoke earlier in the week, you were very passionate about that. It would be nice to hear some of your thoughts. I know you were very, you liked the idea of common grazing within the wildlife areas, the symbiotic relationship which grazing hooved animals like cattle, how they can benefit both the community and their livelihoods, but also benefit the environment and rhinos themselves. Tell us about how you feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's really at the heart of Sides of a Horn. Is here's a man who is struggling to put food on his family's table. He says, you know, I've been chopping wood 14 hours a day. We can see that his hands are bleeding. He's got a wife who is sick and he can't afford medication for her. And the problem is, you know, of course there are poachers who turn to poaching because they're greedy or you know, they come from a gang background and they get into it for that reasons. But there are these people who are hungry and the problem is a lack of other opportunities. And so that's the main, you know, problem that the film presents. So how can parks and people working around parks make it mutually beneficial for people in those communities to protect the wildlife instead of poaching the wildlife when there's a lack of opportunities, and here's an opportunity right on the other side of the fence to make a lot of money for killing an animal. And so it's all about presenting other opportunities for the people in the communities next to the park, and if that opportunity can also be mutually beneficial for the park, then great. And so when we were in Uganda, we went to Ziwa Rhino Sanctuary, where the reintroduced population of rhino in Uganda are living and being protected. And as you mentioned, one of they've come up with a lot of creative ideas to how to make it mutually beneficial for the people living next to the park to protect the wildlife. But one amazing example that we got to see firsthand, and you can actually go on YouTube and just type in Sides of a Horn Uganda, and there's a short documentary where you can see what I'm talking about. But a lot of the people living next to the park graze cattle, and because of the expansion of properties, they're running out of land for their cattle to graze. And so every morning at 8 a.m. the park, the sanctuary opens their gates, and the cattle are allowed to graze on the rhino's land. And it actually helps the rhino because the rhino prefer the shorter grass and the cattle prefer the taller grass. And so it creates this symbiotic, you know, again, mutually beneficial between the cattle and the rhino, and also the rangers and the people in the community next to the park, to where, you know, it just works. And so it's creative ideas like that, and there's a lot of them that different parks in Africa are trying, and different organizations are implementing. And you know, yes, we have to solve the demand in Asia, and yes, we have to find the kingpins of the crime syndicates, but the situation that's presented in Sides of a Horn, I think this is the solution. That's how you solve it, is making it mutually beneficial for those people who are on the front lines living next to the park.
A couple of similar questions. Let's put them together. From Rosie in the UK, she's interested to know what was the most challenging situation you faced when filming, and that links to another film we had from Jubes on Twitch. They're curious to know if you felt safe when making the film.
Yes. So first question. There's a lot of challenges just shooting on location. A lot of unpredictable moments, but those moments end up making the film. It adds an authenticity, and there was a lot of things that ended up happening during scenes that only happened because we were really there in the environment. And, somebody in the community, a child ran through the shot, and it ends up creating, an authenticity and actually adds to the world of the film. But of course it does present its challenges. Something that was very sad and really threw our whole schedule off as well was on our first day of shooting in the park, a baby rhino was poached. And so we were working with a anti-poaching ranger who was our technical consultant and was helping us navigate the park and keeping us and the animals safe during the filming process. And within half an hour of us arriving there, he had to drive off in his truck and go after these poachers who had just killed a little baby rhino. And so, it was, and we waited there and eventually started shooting later that day, but it was sort of art imitating life and life imitating art, and the reality of the situation and the story in our film taking place right in front of us. So I would say that was probably the toughest mentally and emotionally and yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you very much for your time. We're running towards the end, and we've only got a few more questions. In fact, we'll go with one. Probably everybody's burning question, and I bet you get asked this all the time. From John Smithers on YouTube. Who or what was shot at the end of the film?
It's whatever you interpret. A similar situation plays out in another project that I'm working on about this issue, which will reveal that answer. So I'm going to leave it open-ended for now. But the point of ending it open-ended like that was to emphasize this sort of cycle of destruction, where any way that gunshot, anyone who pulled that trigger and made that gunshot sound, it's not a positive outcome. It's this cycle of destruction, and the complexity of the situation is not as simple as pointing fingers and saying he was right, he was wrong. I hope that guy got shot, or I hope that rhino got shot. It's so much more complex than that. And so that was the point of ending it like that.
Well, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Toby, for coming, helping us with this event. I know we were in touch for almost 18 months looking for the correct opportunity, so finally it's there, and maybe there's something we can do in the future with what happens next. So good luck with that, and keep up the good work.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, David. And Emma, and everybody who listened. Thank you.
Okay, well, that's it, folks. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Thank you for all the excellent questions. I certainly enjoyed both the film and both talking to Toby, a great orator, very passionate about rhinos, obviously, and a real artist as well. So some fantastic footage there. So don't forget that, or if you don't know, the film is free to watch again as much as you like to share. It's on Vimeo and also on Toby's own website. We will post that in the chat just below so that you can access that. You can also download the film as well. Maybe you can have a watch party when this is all over, and you can have friends around. Why not have a watch party and spread the message? Again, thank you, and sorry for the technical difficulties at the top. So, like we mentioned at the top, this is our 5th virtual event and our 2nd film club. We hope to be able to bring you at least one more film club, but we're working on that, and we'll come back to you. We do have some other events coming up, particularly next week. A very interesting event with INOV section of from IRF Indonesia. That is part of, as I mentioned, this month's campaign, where we are supporting the rhino protection units in Indonesia. And next Tuesday we will have a Q&A with INOV, and also look out for Friday the 31st of July is World Ranger Day, and we will have some more events to show you there. So thank you, everyone. Have a great night. Thank you for supporting rhino conservation, and we will see you all again very soon.